Harrisburg Stampede. Justin Coble with
I
us.
gotta change the freaking.
Oh, there it is.
Basically, they were
It's
playing
Major
Major League with a real game. Yeah.
Oh, shit. There's the Hattie.
All right, and by the sound of the hockey organ, we are now back for the second half of the episode here. Look, I'm wearing the hat. You're wearing the hat. Let's talk about this. The Phils are 10 games away from clinching the NL East, and I could not be happier. I'm very much ready for a Red October. I don't know about you.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. It's
But
coming.
I'm very ready for Red October.
What year's that one from?
Last season, actually.
Was it last season's?
So my assistant director, he's someone that, I talk to outside of work. And he snagged one for me when he got to a playoff game last year. Because
Nice.
one of his old coworkers from inside baseball, myself, my boss, my assistant director, another one of the supervisors in our bureau all started in the unit I supervise. So one of their old coworkers lives in Philly now, and she works at Revenue in Philly. So she got tickets for him and a couple other of their old coworkers, and they went to the game. And Jesse was nice enough to snag me one of these.
Nice.
But let's get into it. They are 10 games away from clinching the NL East. Now, last night they had a loss, a devastating Aaron Nola performance to the New York Mets. Mets fans, congrats on the win. We all know that I do hold a respect for Mets fans because they suffer like we suffer. It's hard for me to hate on Mets fans, but fuck the Mets. That's a whole other topic on the course here.
No.
I go into a Nola game expecting him to give up at least a 3-run homer. They shellacked the F out of him last night. Now, look, I didn't get to watch the game. I said earlier I was at the high school football game because my daughter's in color guard with the marching band, but I was following the game on my phone during the football game.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. No, I was watching it, and it was bad. It was.
I'll tell you this. I threw up YouTube TV and I saw that first homer given up, and I'm like, well, I'm done.
Well, it was a 6-run fifth. It was a 6-run fifth, and there it was from there. It just snowballed from there. I mean, 14 hits is what the Mets ended up with.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just happy at least it wasn't a shutout, if anything.
Now, look, take the lump last night, come back today for a revenge game, finish up the series,
do a
take
wake-up
the series. Call. Yep.
Well, last night was a wake-up call.
I don't go into any of these series expecting them to sweep. It's a fool's errand to think they're going to sweep every series. But if they take 2 or 3, that's great. You can eat a loss if you're going to take 2 or 3.
Yeah, at least try something.
And I mean, there is good news in this scenario too with last night. Schwarber's back in the lineup. JT's back in the lineup. Unfortunately, Bohm is still on the 10-day DL. Austin Hayes, who they got at the trade deadline, he's on the 10-day DL with a kidney issue. And then Edmundo Sosa is on the 10-day DL as well with back issues. So they have some injuries starting to pile up, and that's where my concern's starting to come in, is we need to keep these guys healthy for that big playoff push. And look, these guys show up in October until they don't. My hope is that skid in July and August was their slump, and now they're going to be firing up for the playoffs to come in and do what they are supposed to do. Also, how great is it if you pull up the ESPN link that is in our show document? How great is it when you look at the potential matchups for the playoffs and there's no Braves to be seen?
Yeah, that is nice.
Put those tears on your pillow, Braves fans. You didn't do it. You couldn't get it done. And y'all had a really good season losing a lot of key players, but you couldn't get it done. So I don't know what your excuse is going to be, but the big bad boogeyman from Philadelphia ain't going to be your excuse this year.
Don't hold back, Jason. Just don't hold back.
I don't carry that respect for Mets fans like I do for other teams' fans. One, I know a lot of Mets fans, and I've heard their suffering, and I get it because as a Phillies fan, I've suffered. I've been look. They're going to clinch the NL East. They have a 99% chance of making the playoffs. That 1% chance is haunting me because I've been a fan of this team my entire life.
And it's Philadelphia.
I've seen a lot of bad seasons in my life, so I am prepared for the worst more than I'm prepared for the best.
Well, it's Philadelphia. You have to be prepared for the worst because of it being Philadelphia. I mean, not just with the Phillies, but with any Philadelphia team. They're playoff bound, 10-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Flyers last season. They're playoff bound, and all of a sudden they're out of the playoffs. That's why when it comes down to Philly sports, until they are marked as in, I don't classify anything as a chance. They're out until they're in. There's no.
That's why the Phils need to get those 10 games.
Just to get it done, get it over with. Hop on that 10-game winning streak. Actually, I want them to hit that in the playoffs.
Well, here's an interesting fact about this year's playoffs. If the Phils and the Dodgers have the same record at the end of the season, the Phils will be the number 1 seed because they won the season series against the Dodgers this year.
I was going to say, I thought they did.
And look, we were having this discussion last night. I'm honest about it. I don't sweat the Dodgers because one, the Phils always play really well against the Dodgers, and the Phils play really well against the Dodgers in the postseason. I think Matt Stairs' home run still has not landed from 2008. But and the Dodgers, much like the Braves, have not shown up in the playoffs the last few years. So I'm not sweating them as much as I would any other team. And here's the thing. They need to get in. They need to win the National League Championship Series this year. They need to. At least that. But if this is going to be the year that they win the World Series, it's probably the best chance they got to win the World Series again.
I feel this year they it's almost like one of those things to where I feel they have to at this point because of just the way they're playing, the way they are, the way everything is. It's that feeling of if they don't win it this year, it's going to be everything's just going to just start going down. Like after 08.
That's a concern. Now, that said, we have a front office staff in place that is committed to winning, unlike the moves Ruben Amaro made after he took over general manager from the 2008 season. I trust Dave Dombrowski far more than I would ever trust Ruben Amaro.
I mean, that's what
and you know what?
Phillies, they go for win. They don't just rebuild. It's, like a Phillies. I mean, right now, the only Philly thing that is a rebuild are the Flyers, and that's surprising. Because normally it's always a championship or nothing.
Now I'm gonna say something controversial because I for years have stated that you don't buy championships. And look, the Phils front office have gone out. They signed Bryce Harper in 2019. They signed JT Realmuto. They signed Kyle Schwarber. They signed Nick Castellanos. They traded for Austin Hayes. But at the same time, like one of their best trades was getting Marsh, who was just trying to find his way on the Angels. He came to Philly and he has shined.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of players that shined on the Phillies. A lot of players that came just busted out and shined.
But I'm saying, even with the big names like Turner, like Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, JT, those big names are showing up at the same time. Like Alec Boehm one of the best third basemen in baseball. And he's been a tremendous run producer this year at the plate. Bryson Stott is a good defender. He's had some troubles at the plate this year, but he's still a very good defender.
And that's a
Johan
big
Rojas, excellent defender, not great at the plate, but I mean, amazing defender, amazing speed in center field. Marshy, who, even though he wasn't part of the farm system in Philly, he's probably closer to a farm system guy than he was a big name. Because he was traded for a minor league talent from the Phils. Like, you have these young guys who are not or were not big names when they hit the team, whether it be from the farm show from Jesus, you can tell I'm from Central Pennsylvania, whether it's from the farm system or from a trade. These young guys have shown up, and that to me is just as important as the big names showing up, because when the big names go, you still have a core of players who can produce.
I mean, think about when Schwarber gets hot, Harper, Castellanos, Remuto, all those guys in the playoffs, what's going to happen? Now, I hope they just don't do what they did last year and shoot it all in one series and call it a day.
Well, they're not going against the Braves this year. Because here's the thing, right now, the Mets and Braves, if the Mets and Braves finish tied up in the wild card series, in the wild card slots, the Mets have the season series over the Braves. So the Mets would be the ones to go in the wild card, not the Braves.
Yeah.
So as of now, we're looking at more than likely the D-backs or the Padres playing the Phils. And then it would be the Mets and or the Brewers playing the Dodgers. Because the Phils are going to get that bye this year.
So we can avoid the heart attack in the first round. That's good.
And that 3-game series doesn't bother me in the first round. I actually quite enjoyed him. It showcased that St. Louis is not the home of the greatest baseball fans because they just left.
That was a fun series, though.
The last two postseasons have been, when the Phils are on, it's been a lot of fun to watch. And I love seeing this team fired up because this is a team. And that's another thing. Like, these guys are flying against the grain with the big names and big contracts. Like, this is a cohesive unit.
Yeah.
This is not a bunch of guys with names who are just showing up and collecting a check like teams of the past have. Not Philly teams of the past, but teams that have spent money on big name players. They don't typically gel as a cohesive unit. This is a team.
This is
And Bryce Harper mentioned after the game against the Rays where the bench is cleared, he's like, we're a team. He goes, we'll go out to dinner together. We'll hang out at each other's houses together.
And that's what it is.
We're a family. And I'm like, oh, that's what we want to hear as fans, you know.
You win together, you die together. That's what a team is. You stick with your team despite what is happening. You win together, you die together. You die on that hill.
Let's talk about, since we're talking about postseason, the great clip last year from the postseason where mid-interview, not even breaking his concentration on his interview, Bryce Harper ball tagged Bryson Stott. That is a professional, where you are still talking and you ball tag your teammate who's trying to pour beer on you, and your answer is still like you didn't pause at all. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's you can't beat that. You can't beat that. Not even a hesitation. Just one is like da 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 da. You know, it's like,
this is how sick we are. We sit and we'll watch the entire post-game celebration on NBC Sports because it's just as fun as watching the game. Because
it can be, yeah.
You're
like that.
Marsh is running around just throwing beers on people, like. And then we're like, I wonder how many have actually been drank and how many have not been drank. Like, how much of this beer has been wasted? And then this is another sidebar topic with Jamie and I. Does Yingling get upset Like, because you never see NOLA on screen because NOLA has a sponsorship deal with Yingling. So is NOLA like, what are the terms of that? Because it's always Bud and Bud Light because that's a Major League
Yeah.
Baseball sponsor. It's not like back in the day where it's like the local brewery is supplying the beer.
Yeah.
It's always whoever the national sponsor is now. So how does that affect Nola's Yingling sponsorship if he's on camera drinking a Bud or Bud Light?
Yeah. That's a good question. That's a good question. Oh, Yingling.
See, these are the things I think about while we're watching the post-game celebration.
You want to go to Pottstown? You're already Pottstown. You want to go to Pottsville and ask? It's only about
Dude,
a 40-minute drive.
I can make it in 30.
Well, yeah, so can I, but
I was going to say you can make it in 20.
I never drive fast.
That's something we did not talk about in the Storytime episode. But we could one day. We could.
That's a part 2. That's a part 2-1 on that one.
We're there already. There were only 2 songs that played. You know, in all honesty, I've been wanting to do the tour because I haven't done it since Local History Club in high school, and I know it's
I've
changed
never done it
since there.
I've never done
since
it
then.
I've never been out on the tour. I wanted to, but
I'd like to do it. I'd like
so
to do
would
the tour. Not just because I enjoy Yingling, which I've been quite enjoying the premium lately, the old school Pilsner over the lager. It's just not as heavy, so I don't feel as full after I have like 1 or 2. But
I just drink.
But for me, it's the history of it more than anything. It's because
there's
now
a
I
lot of
believe they
history
take
there.
you through the catacombs underneath where they used to store the beer back in the day to keep it cold, and
I mean, it's Yingling. That is history. That is a lot of history on its own.
then you can go into the tasting room and taste beers, and I'll get some Chetty.
I mean, when the brewery's been around since, was it 1829? It's been around for a little bit.
Do you know that's still considered a craft beer?
Huh. I did not know that, actually.
Yingling and Sam Adams are the largest craft beers in America. Because even though, like, Sam Adams is a national beer, but because it's the quantity of which it's brewed, it's still considered a craft beer. Yingling is very similar, even though it's not a national beer yet.
Did you know Yingling made an ice cream
Yes.
at one point? I did not know that. I just literally looked it up. I just brought it up on Wiki and just scrolling down through. It's like a quart of Yingling vanilla ice cream. Like, I did not know that they made ice cream. Get drunk on
Yingling
ice cream. Okay.
isn't. It's also it's an offshoot of the. It is the same family, but it's an offshoot of the family. So the ice cream business started during Prohibition. And I believe it lasted up until like the 70s or 80s, and then they stopped making the ice cream. And then maybe about 10 years ago, they started making it again because Boyer's used to have it, and we tried it. It's very good ice cream. They
I've
don't
never
carry
seen
it
it.
anymore.
I never seen it out in the, out in the stores or anywhere other than what I'm just looking at right here. Never seen it other than that.
Yeah, they haven't posted since 2020, so I think they don't make it anymore.
Yeah, that'll do it.
But that said, it was a very enjoyable ice cream when it existed because we did try it.
But anyways, no, I'd like to go back. I'd love to do the tour. I'd love to do it.
Yeah, I would too.
Road trip?
Sure.
Okay. We'll book it. Locked and stocked, ready to go.
I'm ready for some golf and wings. That's what I'm ready for.
Please.
Tommy went wingy. All right, anyway.
Doesn't hurt here so much or here, just right here.
All right,
no,
on
ship
that
shape.
note.
What, too much of a sidebar?
No, but we've hit the 8:00 a.m. hour. We're going overtime. We're in injury time if this was a soccer game.
Just don't clothesline somebody now.
That's the story that started the whole episode, was the reaction to us riffing about that story. All right, let's quick give a plug to my friend and yours, Dave, and his buddies Greg and Jake at the 2216 podcast. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. The other ship is the Pop Culture Podcast with the Pro Wrestling Lean. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. I'm still waiting for their ad. Because I'd like to just throw that in. That's one less plug I got to read. Thank you for joining us of episode 93 of the Non-Linear Sports Podcast. You can find us through our Linktree link that is in the description of every episode. Click there, go to our Teespring account, go to all of our social media accounts. You can find us on YouTube. If you're listening to us, you obviously know where you can find us. You know that you're probably subscribed. You're one of our subscribers and probably get the notification when a new episode drops. We appreciate that. We thank you for sticking with us since 2020. Good Lord. We've been doing this since 2020.
Yeah.
We are. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Sidebar before we wrap up here. I do believe on earlier episodes I talked about David playing hockey again. And he is wearing the uniform of his team that he plays for right now. And I'm really happy to see you playing again.
Yeah, I'm happy to be playing again too. I mean, this is actually the away jersey I'm wearing.
You know what? I like the white one better than the home black jersey. I think the white one pops more. And I can say that because I got this.
Oh,
anyway,
an episode with that in.
We didn't do it at all last episode.
Didn't we? I thought there was. I don't know.
Nope.
It just runs together sometimes.
I am working on David to try and start up a floorball team based on our mutual enjoyment of the John Boy Warehouse Games floorball tournaments.
I got to start watching those because I completely forgot those were on. I completely
The last
forgot.
3 games have gone down to the wire.
I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm binging today. I know what I'm binging.
No lead has been safe in the first 3 games.
Well,
that's how back and forth they've been.
How many players are on a team, like on a full roster?
A legitimate floorball roster is 5 plus a goalie.
Okay.
So 2 defensemen, goalie, 2 defensemen, 2 wingers, and a center.
No spares.
I'm sure there's spares.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's
what I mean. Like the roster
on court, it's
I just didn't know like what the roster was. Like if you could have if it's 10 or so and so, 10 plus 2 goalies or 10 and something like that. I just didn't know I'll look it up.
I was gonna say Floorball Planet has a lot of good information. I just haven't really dived deep into it, but I'm sure we could figure it out if we decided to do it or not.
It's just where to do it.
Yeah, it's a whole other point too. But
yeah.
Anyway,
sidebars.
That's okay.
Bar.
Gotta love them.
Bar.
Some kegs and eggs, David. Some kegs and eggs.
And
actually, you know what? I've that's something we didn't get into. The fucking potency of your farts. Kegs and eggs. You couldn't pay me to be in the car with you if you've had beer and eggs. Holy fuck. I just realized last episode how much we cursed, and I'm like, I bet you David's uncle did not play this episode in the store. Because you said they used to play the episodes in the store, and I'm like, oh man, we curse a lot more now. I bet you they don't play those anymore. Sorry, Uncle Bob.
There's nothing wrong with kegs and eggs. There's nothing wrong with beer and eggs. Except after an hour and you're
that time we left Carsonville and your windows in the Jeep decided to not work and you fucking bombed the shit out of the Jeep. I wanted to throw up and just your power windows just decided, hey, fuck you, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. I think the fuse might have went for that. I think that's
You
what it
replaced the
was.
windows a lot in that car.
Well, I know I had to replace the driver's side one because the one piece broke inside the actual door itself. Because I remember we had to rip off the inside door panel just to get that replaced. I do remember that. But I think it was a
Um,
fuse we had to. I think it was that with the windows. I don't remember. It's been so long.
I remember the one time you did it, and
Did what? Shit
no,
myself?
it was the first time Travis came home from actually living in Colorado. Now he wasn't with the military anymore. He was just living out there. It was like 2009 or 10 because Gianna wasn't born. The girls weren't born yet. But we took a drive around the area with him, just like, reliving old days. And you were in the passenger seat, he was in the back, and I was driving, and I had the child locks. Why would I have had the child locks on if the kids were in? I think I was just fucking with him, and the child locks were on, and he can put his window down. And you farted, and he's like, put the window down," and you ended up putting yours down. Or no, I put mine down, and it still wafted back to him from your fart.
Uh,
However it happened, he just got
he got
he
hammered.
got he got the brunt of it. Yeah.
He got hammered
Um.
by it.
All right. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Thank you for listening to us. Anytime you reach out and message me or message David, I always appreciate it. It tells me that people are, you're giving me live feedback, and I can bring it to the show and we can talk about it. So just thank you all for the support over the years. Really appreciate it. With that, my name's Jason.
I'm David.
We'll talk with you next time.
Good morning.